In order to really grow and improve, we must compare ourselves today with ourselves yesterday. Then calculate whether we move closer to where we want to be or move more distant. If we are closer and better today than yesterday, we improved. However, if we are merely better than others against whom we compare ourselves, we may be getting worse while appearing in good shape. After all, we are still relatively better than those against whom we compare ourselves. How we differ. The one thing that most needed changing in 1776 has not yet been done. We never rewrote our textbooks to reflect our new nation's founding charter and its principles for self-governance. Clean, honest government starts right from the very beginning in 1776, when the United States of America's founding generation created an entirely new system of self-government with the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. We dissect nearly every phrase and word to best determine what the founding generation was trying to accomplish, a task that, when properly done, uses dictionaries commonly used at that time. Most of all, we separate their practices from the contract terms they agreed upon, focusing on the contract terms and the way it is supposed to be. Precedents. They did it. Why can't we? Words, often spoken by those who know they've done wrong. The question instead should be whether they should have done it in the first place. As 2024 closes, these United States of America is still strongly under King George III British rule by way of they did it excuses. Government officers, with precedents, proclaim that since the British Crown committed acts of tyranny and despotism against the colonists, that they too possess such right to tyrannize the people of these United States of America, totally ignoring our government charters and the strict limits against such government powers. Present teachings and practice. The most compelling evidence that these United States of America has retained King George III British rule of tyranny and despotism comes from such United States Supreme Court opinions such as District of Columbia versus Clowns, 300 U.S. 617, 1937. The Clean, Honest Government Design. The 1776 design created a governed and government relationship of working together to equally protect every person's rights, most importantly, by completely ending precedents. The 1776 Declaration states that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Then, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. Bio, Daniel M. Kingery, tooting my own horn. Becoming the expert with United States American government charters should happen in elementary school. For me, during this time, no one taught United States American civics. Fresh out of high school in 1979, I went directly into the Marine Corps. Later, I would hear older folk referring to this as young, dumb, and full of cum. Young not well experienced in the hardships of life, dumb, not very well informed, full of cum, horny as hell, with the need to prove something. Being totally ignorant regarding the full weight and power of that oath, I was ill-equipped to properly serve my country honorably. Though the government-issued DD-214 discharge papers state my service as honorable, the proof of my treason against these United States of America resides in the Constitution of the United States of America, Article 3, Section 3, where it defines the two types of treason. The first treason, levying war, includes passing unconstitutional laws that violate the people's rights. Between 1983 and 1985, my United States American civics self-study began. Initially, reading nearly every item of the debates, letters by or about the signers, that students, teachers, professors, government officers, as well as what other constitutional experts wrote about those charters. This made it seem an impossible task. None of the referrals directed me to older dictionaries or even to the charters themselves. The more I read, the more confusing the information became, the more impossible it seemed to actually know what those charters were intended to accomplish. By the late 1980s, I nearly quit. After that time, my parents' lessons started kicking in about how word meanings change over time. Mom taught me to remember word spellings and meanings by plopping a big dictionary down beside me. The more I looked them up, the more I remembered them. Dad used word riddles. One of us kids bragging about being fast, Dad commented about how fastened we were to the floor because we had not yet moved. His other word riddle, about a four-letter word ending in K that means intercourse, shows how the 1776 definitions may differ a little or a lot from the modern definitions for the same words. After my F-word guess, Dad says T-A-L-K, verbal intercourse. My parents also taught me that if I learned that someone did not teach me correctly on some subject, at that point I knew enough to start correcting the errors for myself. This website is me correcting the wrong information I was taught to accept as true. The point at which time the government charter started coming in clear happened while searching for consent in the digitized 1756 dictionary from the National Archives. During that search, the word corporation caught my attention. Having heard various conspiracy theories that the government was incorporated, I cross-referenced 1756 corporate and government definitions to find the words are used interchangeably. With the experience of filing commercial corporate charters for a trash recycling business, I knew what each of the two most important charters contained and how they benefited the corporate owners. With the government as corporation perspective, all I needed to work with were the charters themselves, alongside copies of the dictionaries published from 5 to 20 years before the charter signings. The distinct role of each government charter, the Declaration and the Constitution, made themselves clear when it came to who owns the government and how to control it. For nearly 25 years, I studied in accord with my parents' word lessons, noting their word riddles and the changing definitions. This meant challenging what I already learned and correcting those errors. By using those lessons, I became the best informed person regarding the United States American government charters. It became easy to quickly and accurately determine where any government activity or law violated a specific element of those charters. CleanHonestGov.com also found as cleanhonestgovernment.com, is a website that teaches others in a matter of hours what it took me nearly 25 years to discover. Now, if you are still looking for a presidential candidate who knows how to use the Declaration and the Constitution to equally protect your rights, do your best to get to know me, as I have come to know myself during my years of discovering what it really means to be a United States American. Link to Kingery 2020 President of the United States of America. This website is my resume. The 2020 represents hindsight to ensure movement in the designed direction and not just repeating our past mistakes with even worse injuries. Ask how reading and math stop political corruption. New sitemap. Section number 1. First things first. Section number 2. The emergency room. Section number 3, Constitutional Conventions. Section number 4, Constitutional Executive Orders. Section number 5, Projects and Programs. Section number 6, Sources and Resources. Section number 7, Dissecting the Sources and Resources. Section number 8, Master's Civics Quiz. Section number 9, Miscellaneous Pages. Sections number 10, 11, 12, and 13 reserved for additional content. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. 1776. The governed, by design, are intended to work together as a unified body, controlling the government's powers, equally protecting each other's rights. Share to help get and keep clean, honest government. End page contents. Up next, the correct perspective.